All right, so good afternoon. My name is Zachary Custer, and we are here to do my first video counseling presentation for HSC 524 with Dr. Greg Stewart at Regent University. So, for this first video, we are going to be demonstrating the skills taught by Egan and Ivy et al. For empathy, encouragement, and paraphrasing, as well as the techniques, specifically the solar technique, where we'll be focusing on facing our clients squarely, presenting an open posture, not a lot of crossing the arms or legs, leaning forward here and there, keeping good eye contact, and overall just a really relaxed atmosphere, which is not going to be hard since we're in quarantine and we're in our house. And I get to engage with my beautiful wife and my service dog, who's going to be running around here. I'm sure she's sleeping right now. So let's go ahead and get started. So, um, basically, I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about the craziness that's going on. So I know that you and I talk a lot about stuff all the time, and we're just really going to use this time to kind of talk about how unfortunate things are, I suppose, in our planning. So I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on how you feel. I know we talked a little bit last night about, our plans being put on hold, a little bit about not being able to move, and I don't know. Can you expand a little bit about how you're feeling on, not being able to move into the RV and all that stuff right now?
Yeah, I think that luckily the military really kind of prepared us for just kind of going with the flow on things. And I think after a decade of that, I have pretty much gotten used to these curveballs, as you would put it, as far as our plans getting changed like rapidly like
Yeah.
that. So when we have stuff like this happen, while it can be disappointing or it can be, like, oh wow, this really sucks, it's not necessarily like life altering to where the point of, where it can bring in like depression or anger or, stuff like that. Just because we've been through so many of those before in the past, where I think before that lifestyle, it definitely would have affected me that way. So while I'm disappointed that we didn't get to jump right into the RV lifestyle and we're not traveling right now and seeing the country, I know that this is for the best, because we really wouldn't be able to see the country right now anyways, because most of it is on lockdown. And I think that as a family right now, we're definitely making the most of this pandemic. We're doing a lot of fun things as a family, and it seems to, I think the kids are enjoying it. I've enjoyed slowing down. Our lifestyle has slowed down significantly with all the ABA therapies are on hold, and karate is on hold, and gymnastics is on hold, and all of the, the typical, soccer mom van running around every day of the week, and
Right.
hustle and bustle has basically come to a stop. So it's kind of nice for me.
So you had said that you were a little disappointed, but things have slowed down a little bit, and you also mentioned that you think the kids have enjoyed it slowing down. Do you think the kids do you think the kids are disappointed? And I mean, have they shown signs of being disappointed at all?
Well, I know for a fact that every time that we've sat down and had to explain to them of, what's going on in the world, what's going on specifically in our country and in our state, you can see that facial expression change, that body language, to where they're disappointed that, that the camping trips are not coming, that we're not moving. Like, they're definitely showing the signs when we're having the conversations with them. And I think especially the younger two, they might not necessarily grasp what's really happening with the virus. But I do think that we're explaining it well, that for our safety, we need to stay put. And I think that we do a good job communicating to them why we need to stay here. And I think that Daniel, our oldest, I think he definitely gets it, why we need to be here. And I think that we do a good job at communicating with them that it's okay to be disappointed, but to not live in that disappointment, that we're going to make the best of the situation, and that, this too shall pass. Like, we're not going to be in this season forever, that this is just hopefully a few months of our life, and that at the end of this, God will show us like what our next step is.
Yeah. Have you experienced, you'd mentioned, being in the military, and as well as I do that, this isn't the first time, we've been in a situation where we thought we were gonna, jump into something, and then God had other plans. Is there times, I guess, life before me and the children, can you give me I guess an experience that you've gone through that somewhat prepares you for a situation like this, that, creates this to be maybe a little bit of a softer blow than it would be, because you have gone through something similar prior to the military? Does that make sense?
Well, I guess, when you look back on early life, things are, constantly changing. You don't see that when you're going through them, but when you're younger, you go through elementary school, and then you have the big change of, going to, whether it's middle school or junior high, depending on what part of the country you're in, and then from there to high school, that's a huge change. And then from that to college, that's a huge thing. And then, when you do eventually, make that step to be married, and, those different things. I guess all of those are huge reality changes. And so all of those different things, I guess, can prepare you for, kind of those slaps in the face, so to speak.
Yeah.
But as far as the flexibility and the way that I react to changes happening, definitely the military has I think really prepared me for that the most. But then, in all honesty, I think a lot of it just has to do with my relationship with God. Because as we have seen in the military world, if you don't have that foundation of God, it can really tear a marriage apart. It can tear relationships apart, families apart, because you really have to have that foundation of God to get through it, because you can turn on each other very quickly if you don't have that foundation of God. So while the military has prepared us for things like this pandemic, really it has to do with my relationship with God as well.
Sure. I hear you talk about your relationship with Jesus and your relationship with God, and seeing how that can empower you to get through times of uncertainty. I guess, how would you, how do you use that to kind of keep the kids focused? Because I know that you homeschool, and so having the kids around 24 hours a day is kind of a new thing for you and for me. But during times where we can't go to the park, where we can't go to the aquarium on a weekend, or we can't go to whatever the case may be, all these fun events that we normally do to keep things kind of to stray away from the monotony of things, because we are in this kind of mundane type of environment right now where we wake up, we're inside all day. How do you kind of keep the kids focused? Does having a relationship with Jesus, does influencing the kids to rely on God, does anything spiritual have to do with keeping the kids focused on not losing their minds from a day-to-day basis on just because it's so monotonous? Does that have any link to it?
I definitely think that my actions and the actions of our family is more of a testimony to the kids than any words that I can say to them. I mean, obviously, doing devotions with them, watching church together, listening to praise music. I mean, all of that is a great influence to them. But really, my attitude, my actions, the way that I am dealing with this pandemic is going to be way more of a testimony to them than any words that I can say, in all honesty, because we could take this, this stay-at-home order, or the monotony, as you put it, as to really to bring into a sadness or a depression or anything like that into our home. We could have a very negative outlook on it, and we could be really miserable, or we could just be very negative about it. But instead, we've chosen to not look at it like that. We created a schedule for them. We cleared out a room so that they could be doing yoga and YouTube activities and workouts. Sure. And we have requirements that they have to do before they can get on their electronics. We have bought fun things for them to do outside. Like doing our chalk on the fence. Like that's something that we don't usually do. Just things like that. Just trying to change it up a little bit.
Sure.
The girls have been cooking with me a lot more. Just things like that. But I really do think that ultimately, them seeing my attitude, which my attitude comes from Christ, yeah. Because I could easily let my negativity take over, because it's not just all butterflies and rainbows for me. But drawing from Christ's power to keep my attitude good, and then the kids seeing my attitude is really going to be the testimony for our whole family throughout this time.
So it sounds like a lot of what you're saying comes from a place of kind of inner peace, and with everything that's going along around in our world today, kind of there's this central element of peace that instead of you orbiting around everything that's happening and you trying to find balance in it, you've got everything that's going around in this world kind of orbiting around this central portion of peace that's already inside of your heart. And would you say that that's sort of accurate, that you have this chaotic world that is around you, not allowing it to really affect the inward peace that you have, and that's kind of, I guess if you would say, it's kind of the secret of